This is Jess, Wes and our daughter Izzy. After selling our house and most of our possessions at the end of 2021, we've packed up our van Bevan to tour Australia. We are Life is VANderful. Porada.
So one of the interesting things I think about this place is the duality of the whole area. There were usually 1,200 or so prisoners in the area on any given year, and about 115, 120 guards, about a 1-to-10 ratio. And there are a lot of other people, a lot of military people, governors, and people in charge of looking after all the prisoners, or convicts as they were known. And what that meant was that it was sort of a thriving community. And what I mean by the duality of the whole place is that the prisoners were sent here for hard labour. That was their way of reforming the convicts, was through hard labour, and it was a horrible, terrible, end of the world type of place for them. But for the civilians that were sort of in charge of those people, it was completely different. It was seen as a wonderful place. They had regattas out on the water there. There was cricket played on the oval. There were parties. They were visiting dignitaries and such. So it was seen as a wonderful place. There's gardens, and then on the complete other side you got the prisoners who were sort of sentenced to this terrible punishment for often quite what we'd consider nowadays very menial, insignificant crimes. So that to me is one of the interesting things about this place.
Tua
So when you first come here, they give you a couple of playing cards, and these are referenced to certain convicts, and you can spot the information around Port Arthur as you go around, or when you leave there's information you can match them up. So we're going to find out what our fate is.
So we all thoroughly enjoyed our time at Port Arthur today. It is Wes and I's second visit to Port Arthur, and that was probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and still we weren't able to see the entire place. It's massive, so you do get a pass for 2 days. If you've got the opportunity to go over 2 days, definitely take it. We spent 4.5 hours there before Izzy was getting a bit too tired, and we had to retire back to the campground. But in that time, we got to explore the old jail, where the people in charge of the convicts lived. I don't know what you call them. We explored the church, and we were lucky enough to see a beautiful choir there from New Zealand, the New Zealand Youth Choir, performing some beautiful songs for us. So that was an extra highlight that you wouldn't normally get. And we also took, there's a boat cruise that's included in the ticket price, and it goes out and it shows you where the young youth prisoners were kept on a separate island, and then also the Isle of Death, or Isle of the Dead, where all the convicts were buried. Yeah, many convicts were killed and
horrific ways, like lopping down trees and having trees fall on them, and they weren't able to get out of the way in time because they were obviously cuffed and ball and chain. It was really, really ruthless. That one of the hardest prison in Australia it's famous for. There was really no care for the criminals at all. They wanted just to give them the hardest possible labour as punishment for their crimes. And they were the worst of the worst criminals there, but there were also some people who just did minor things or you know, stole a coat or deserted their position in the army, and then they were just put to absolutely brutal work. But fascinating history, really, really beautiful scenic place to go. We stopped in 3 different locations to spread out our picnic. So we had a picnic watching the youth choir and on a couple of different lawns. Just really beautiful grounds and lovely gardens. So if you're down in Tasmania, definitely come and take a look. Definitely recommend taking your own lunch. There's only the cafe and restaurant at the front of the property and on the boat to get food, and like I said, it's a really, really large property. So take a bottle of water with you, sunscreen because it's incredibly hot, or the weather can change drastically, so also take a raincoat. Last time we were here it was sunny, and then we got on the boat and it started hailing. Yeah, so they're the top tips. Spread it out over a couple of days, bring food, bring water, bring sunscreen, and just have lots of fun.
We really enjoyed our time at Port Arthur, and there were so many different interesting tales and interesting stories of convicts and life there at Port Arthur convict site. It first opened in 1830 when it was pretty sort of simple setup, and then it went all the way through to 1877. So for 47 years it was a sort of the penal system and convicts coming there, and yeah, the last convict was shipped out of there in 1877. Then it went on to become many different things. The Commandant's headquarters turned into a hotel at one stage. There's even a little town that got set up there. So yeah, it sort of changed, and before it became a World Heritage Site as we know it today, and we can explore the areas like what we did. And yeah, as I said, there's so many different cool tales. One of the cooler ones is about a bushranger called Martin Cash, and he managed to escape from the prison twice. So why that was quite remarkable was that there were no real sort of walls. The prisoners were often in chains, but there were no sort of traditional prison walls. Just the geography of the place. It's, you know, rugged mountain area. It was very hard to survive. There were no nearby towns. They were sort of the traps for all the prisoners, so that they couldn't escape. And if you did manage to escape from here, you'd go to a place called Eagle Neck, which is basically a small strip of land that attaches to the main part of Tasmania towards Hobart, and that's only 70 metres wide, and that was patrolled by guard dogs that were all chained together the width of that 70 metres, so they'd have to swim in the waters, but they were often bitterly cold. There were sharks there, and there were guards, so it was really hard to escape. So even if you did escape from the immediate area, your chances of making it were few and far between. But this one guy did, Martin Cash, and I said he was a bush ranger. And the other interesting part of that tale is that Pat Cash, the Australian tennis player, he won Wimbledon in 1987, and he is a descendant of that bushranger. So yeah, I thought that was quite a neat little tale. It just sort of shows you how harsh this area was and how harsh all the prisoners were governed. We've driven an hour and 20 north from Port Arthur, and we've come to Richmond,
yeah. Which is a beautiful sort of English looking town, famous for its bridge, and we're just going to make a first pit stop at the bakery because we are starving.
behind me is Richmond Bridge, and it's nearly 200 years old. So the first foundation stone was laid on the 11th of December 1823. So yeah, this time next year it'll be 200 years old, and it was built by convict labour, and it was built to get across this river, so they could push sort of further east and develop more land further east. And it's also the longest stone span bridge in Australia. So obviously everything now is concrete, reinforced concrete, steel, but yeah, this one's still standing and made of stone, and the longest span made out of stone in this country.
Otherwise he won't know what you want for Christmas.
In here, honey. In that hole. That's it.
Turn it. Turn it, sweetie.
Put it like that. You want to hold it and then let go. Bye. Yay.
Now Santa will know what you want for Christmas. Good job!
Izzy's getting all rugged up because we're at the top of Mount Wellington, which is 1,700 metres above sea level and is the mountain that overlooks Hobart. So it's a beautiful sunny day when we left camp this morning, but we are now up in the clouds, quite literally. So I'm going to go walk around here. We were going to go for a walk, and we still might, but it's really hard to park a 8 metre long camper van on this narrow section of road with hardly any car parks. So heaps of car parking at the top, so we've come here and yeah, greeted with these awesome views. So up here it's also called the Pinnacle View, so it's our fourth pinnacle based thing after the Grampians, Pinnacles in Perth. There's the Pinnacle Erosions near Eden and Merimbula, New South Wales a couple of weeks ago, and now this is Pinnacle Lookout. So yeah, need to be more creative, Australia, with naming things. There are so many different tracks here as well that all sort of split off from the top here, and they all converse at the peak. There's so many different parts to Mount Wellington, like what's sort of behind the camera. What I'm looking at now is the organ pipes, which is another national park we've been to. Went to a place in Melbourne called Organ Pipes, and yeah, a lot of vertical sort of rocks. Yes, that's beautiful. You got the city, the sprawling city that you can see and look out, and there's other sort of hikes of varying levels and varying magnitudes of difficulty. So yeah, it's good for everyone. Nice and easy views once you get to the top, or you can go on all these different hikes, which is really cool. We'll still try and do one when we go down the mountain. Hopefully a car park has opened up for Bevan to fit in. And another interesting thing is all these radio towers and radio frequencies around the place. There's lots of signs everywhere here saying to just to be careful about locking and unlocking your car, because the radio frequencies interfere with the with your remote locking. So there's all tips on how to unlock your car if you get back to your car and you can't open your car, which I thought was quite interesting. I've never seen that anywhere else before, but luckily I just went back to Bevan to get my phone and it opened up fine. So yeah, we're good. So yeah, that's another little interesting thing I thought. Jess and Izzy went this way and I can't see where they've gone, so I'll have to ring them and find out where they've gone. Wish me luck. Found them.
Can you get a quick photo for us, Dad?
So we are here, as indicated by the red marker. We're at the chalet. We're going to do the organ pipes walk, which is apparently about 25-30 minutes, mostly flat. Let's look at the organ pipes. This is where we were before, at the peak. I think I said 1700 metres before. It's 1271 metres above sea level, Mount Wellington. And yeah, this walk, Jess has just pointed out, it's 25-30 minutes one way, so it'd be about an hour all up, and mostly flat, which is why we chose it with Izzy. So here's said chalet, and here's the walk. So we'll go for a walk and see how flat it's supposed to be.
So this organ pipes walk is actually one of Tasmania's 60 great short walks. So if you don't think you're quite physically fit enough to take on some of Tasmania's huge hikes that they have, or if you're travelling with a small family like we are, we definitely recommend checking out that list online.
This has been such a great walk. I'd really recommend this walk. You've sort of got both the organ pipe, the rocks to look at on one side, and on the other side got awesome views of sprawling Hobart. So you got these two views no matter where you are along the path, and it's really easy. It's flat. It's actually even downhill for the first bit, or for most of it even. Now we're turning back. Now it's a little bit back uphill, but it's not steep at all. You just sort of go to where you can have a good look at the organ pipes, and that track actually does continue all the way to the zigzag track, and that goes all the way to the top of the mountain near the tower. So you can keep doing that, but that's a couple of hours and not the right thing to do with Izzy, obviously. So we're turning around and heading back. It should take 30 minutes there and then an hour return. It took us about an hour to get there, or 50 minutes I should say. Then we sat there for 10 minutes, but Izzy walked most of the way, and now she's getting a piggyback on the way back. My turn next. We're in Hobart this morning. It's Saturday, and Saturday in Hobart means Salamanca markets. So they're on every Saturday. Sort of famous markets here. lots of different stalls, lots of different things, and as usual, it's early in the morning. Well, not early, but it's first in the morning, and we need coffee. So I'm going to go get a coffee there, wander the stalls, check out everything it has to offer, and we're walking through all the wharfs here. It's really nice walk. And if you're looking for parking, you've got a camper van or caravan and you're coming into the city here, there's a place on Evans Street, there's parking. So Evans Street, if you want to park and come to the markets, that's the best bet for a camper van or caravan. Somehow the bagpipes are less annoying than all the crowds at the markets. So here at Hobart Brewing, after the morning at Salamanca markets, what did you think of the markets, Jess?
Yeah, really great. So Wes and I were at Salamanca markets together about 7 or 8 years ago, and I think it's actually even grown since then. It's really nice how it's up a street past all the old historical buildings, heritage buildings. There's a lot of things to look at. There's like a great mix of homemade local Tassie stuff, food, spirits, and then some imported things as well. Really good entertainment, saw some bagpipes, a nice busker singing, and then right next door there's currently a maker's market on, which you had to pay entry for, but a lot of local, like everything in there is local Tassie handmade stuff, which was really cool. Yeah, so had a nice bratwurst, some little mini pancakes, and yeah, now we're just down at the industrial estate having a lovely beer.
We are back at Mount Wellington this afternoon, and this time we're doing the other walk that was recommended to us, Silver Fern Loop, to go see the waterfalls. So as you can see there, 45 minutes return, 2.1 k's. So let's go do it. It is our last day in Hobart today. Got about another 8 days in Tasmania total, and this morning we've come to Mona. So Mona stands for Museum of Old and New Art, and it's a little bit funky, a little bit weird, a little bit different, a little bit dark, humour sort of museum, very, very different. So let's go have a look inside. lots of weird, different adult-based art things. So Jess and I are taking turns, and I'm waiting outside here. So there's lots of things we can't show you on camera because they're too rude.
We know a lot of people that have been to Mona and who had raved about it, who said it was fantastic and a little bit weird. We'd always wanted to go, and it is everything that it was built up to be. It was strange in places. So there's like a giant, I can't think of a better word for it, but a giant poop machine that shows you how poo is made. So that's an example of the strange. There's also some adult only areas that we couldn't let Izzy into, which were a little bit disturbing. But apart from that, there are some really, really cool art pieces. So it's like a rain shower and light combo that lets words drop from the sky. There's some really, really cool architecture, some really cool sort of sound experiments. It's very sensory. So like a lot of the things that I take Izzy to for a sensory experience for kids, it's like that, but for adults. As well as all of that, there is also some really great live music, both underground. So I should mention that the museum is completely underground, 3 floors underground. And there is a jazz musician down there, and he actually writes 2 pieces of new music a day and performs them. So you can listen to that down there. There's also a lady playing a harp. And then upstairs there's a big green area too. So there's multiple acts that were playing live music upstairs. Fantastic food and drinks and cocktails. And there's also a vineyard and wine as well. On top of that, if you want to stay, there's even a hotel. So yeah, 5 stars all the way for us. Really, really enjoyed it. If you're in Hobart, definitely check out Mona. Thanks so much for watching. If you're liking our videos, please subscribe.